The market capitalization of the coin is used to summarize all that is taught in this video. Additionally, I would ask that you support my channel by liking it and subscribing to it so that you can stay up to date on future XRP news, as well as other cryptocurrency news in general. Have a look at this for a moment. Prior to moving ahead, EC takes action to dispute the decision that Judge Torres made regarding XRP. Here is a brand new cryptocurrency airdrop that is now taking place, and it is about to begin at any moment now. Participate in this conversation on Telegram, and please take your time doing so. Within the video's description is where you will find the link. In the meantime, let's proceed with our video. The United States Securities and Exchange Commission has lodged an appeal against the summary judgment that Judge Torres delivered on XRP in the Ripple case. The appeal is directed against the previous ruling. The chance of the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) filing an appeal, as well as the potential repercussions of such an appeal, is being evaluated by John Deaton, an attorney who supports XRP while also working with other legal experts. You have been given notice that the SEC intends to appeal in recent times. There has been a rise in the probability that the Securities and Exchange Commission will lodge an appeal. A former attorney for the Securities and Exchange Commission informed Eleanor Tourette, a reporter for Fox Business, that the agency may fight the finding that Judge Analisa Torres announced in July of 2023. The verdict was issued by Judge Torres. While John Deaton was working as a consultant for 75,000 XRP holders on a pro gratis basis, he noticed that courts have voiced their disapproval of the SEC's compliance with the legislation. Despite the fact that Gary Gensler is in charge of the Securities and Exchange Commission, it is possible that the agency will still pursue an appeal, which could lead to the loss of money that belongs to the taxpayers. In my opinion, it is quite unlikely that an appeals court will come to the conclusion that Judge Torres made an error. An extremely specific collection of facts served as the basis for the decision that Judge Torres made. The Securities and Exchange Commission, in contrast to the court, did not rely on any expert testimony involving holders of XRP, which was ultimately excluded from consideration. After that, Deaton stated that even if the justices of the Second Circuit agreed that Judge Torres had made an error in using the third criterion, the matter would still be returned back to her for further consideration. Because of this, the Securities and Exchange Commission would very certainly be unsuccessful in forming a joint venture, which would result in the district court declaring that the SEC had failed to establish a joint venture. The only way to win the lawsuit, Fred Rispoli remarked, in accord with Deaton, that it would be extremely difficult for the Securities and Exchange Commission to reverse Torres' finding. This is the only way to win the case. According to Rispoli, the chances of success for the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) are dependent on the preferences of 3 judges who were selected at random to evaluate the case. These judges were picked to evaluate the case. The Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) has a chance of winning if it selects 3 judges who are sympathetic to the SEC, which is an occurrence that is not common but is not impossible. It is anticipated by Rispoli and other attorneys that the Securities and Exchange Commission would submit an appeal at the very last possible moment. In the event that the Securities and Exchange Commission does not lodge an appeal, Ripple and the XRP community would have been able to score a significant victory. If they were to argue that all secondary transactions do not constitute an investment contract, this would provide them the ability to do so. The fact that the value of XRP has climbed by 2.8 over the course of the last 24 hours and is currently trading at 60 cents is evidence that the value of XRP is gradually increasing. The smallest amount ever recorded is 58 cents, and the highest amount ever recorded is 61 cents. Both of these measurements are recorded. Additionally, considering that the volume of transaction has increased by 20% compared to the previous day, this is an indicator of growing investor interest. Based on the examination of the XR pricing, it is indicated that the target price should be $2. It is possible that the modifications that have been made to the legal procedure will have a substantial impact on the future of XRP in the cryptocurrency market, as well as the regulatory function that the SEC performs. The current market situation. Investors and market analysts are keeping a close eye on the potential influence that court decisions and any appeals could have on the value of Bitcoin assets. This is because the market environment is now so volatile. Recently, Johnny Deaton, a prominent advocate for the cryptocurrency known as XRP, expressed his disappointment in the possibility that the United States Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) will pursue an appeal in its disagreement with Ripple Labs over the cryptocurrency. Following the remarks that were made by Deaton, the price of XRP had a modest decline, which is indicative of the uncertainty that is present among investors. The decision regarding the sale of secondary XRP is expected to be made on October 7th. As we come closer to October 7th, which is the last day for the Securities and Exchange Commission to submit an appeal, Ripple's lawsuit against the SEC has entered its last phases. The complaint was filed against the SEC. Despite the fact that Ripple has been awarded a partial victory over the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC), the regulator has until October 7th to file an appeal against the verdict. According to the ruling that Judge Torres made in July 2023, the transactions that took place when XRP was traded on exchanges to individual investors did not constitute securities transactions. This was stated in the decision. Judge Torres, on the other hand, came to the conclusion that the sale of XRP to institutional investors was in violation of federal securities laws. Because of this, she issued an order that they pay fines that amounted to a total of $125 million. In spite of the fact that the amount might appear to be vast, it is actually a reduction of 94% from the initial request that the SEC made, which was for $2 billion. There is a considerable number of market participants who are of the opinion that the decision made by the court will have a favorable effect on other activities that are currently taking place inside the industry. Despite this, many people are of the opinion that the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) will file an appeal against Ripple's finding in order to contest the decision made by the judge. According to Eleanor Terate, a reporter for Fox Business, a former attorney for the Securities and Exchange Commission, claimed that the SEC will most likely dispute the judgment that Judge Torres made in July 2023 about the programmatic sales of XRP. It is asserted that the attorney stated that every single employee at the Securities and Exchange Commission is of the firm conviction that the decision is illogical, that it breaches the law, and that it ought to be challenged. This assertion is based on the contention that the attorney made. What should one look forward to? According to the research that John Detton presented in response to Eleanor's post, John Detton provided a number of criteria that illustrate why an appeal to the SEC is exceedingly unlikely. It was brought to his attention that Judge Torres was very explicit with regard to the facts before him, simply relying on affidavits that were made accessible by holders of XRP as the primary source of evidence. Furthermore, Detton noted that the regulatory body was not successful in developing a common interim, which is the second component of the Howey test standards. This would be the second component of the Howey test standards. Despite the fact that an appellate court has the potential to reverse Judge Torres' ruling that XRP constituted an investment contract during secondary sales, Detton is of the opinion that the Securities and Exchange Commission will not be successful in this particular case. This is due to the fact that the facts must fulfill all of the what-y conditions in order to be considered valid. To be more explicit, the Howey test describes the conditions that must be satisfied in order for an investment contract to be declared a security. The first thing that has to be done in order to fulfill the second condition is to make an investment of money resources. A joint venture is required to be the vehicle for the investment. Earnings should indicate a projection of lucrative outcomes, which brings us to the third point. Finally, but certainly not least, these earnings ought to be the result of the labor that was performed by other individuals. Specifically with regard to the Ripple case, the fundamental conclusion that Judge Torres arrived at was dependent on the third criterion. In particular, the court came to the conclusion that the buying and selling of XRP on exchanges did not live up to the anticipation of rewards that were obtained as a result of the activities of other individuals. He emphasized that Ripple would have the ability to submit an appeal in the event that Judge Torres made a decision that was unfavorable to the company. The Ripple v. Sexy case was surrounded by a great deal of ambiguity, which resulted in the price of XRP becoming increasingly volatile. Approximately 59 cents is the current balance of the asset, which is roughly equivalent to what it was a week ago. The price of XRP has dropped by $16 over the course of the last 24 hours. Nevertheless, the volume of trades has climbed by 14.5% on a daily basis, hitting $1.2 billion as a result of the increase. The spike in trading volume is in line with the forecast that analysts have made, which suggests that the price of XRP is on the verge of making a substantial shift in the near future. On the other hand, there are a number of different points of view concerning the possible ways in which things may progress in the weeks to come. In conclusion, Perry's analysis sheds light on the fact that the next regulatory move taken by the SEC will have a substantial impact on the path that XRP will take in the future. As a consequence of this, investors are required to keep a strong watch on the situation.